Is this the best combo truck built? Well, I'm gonna answer that question by the end of this video, but I'm gonna take you on a tour of this truck and explain how Vac-Con has built this SE12 Pro combo unit, and you can decide for yourself. But if you wanna see my answer to that question, stay tuned to the end. Let's check it out. So I want to take you on a quick walk around, really give you a tour of this SE12 Pro combo truck. Now, this truck is the Heil of Texas demo unit. So Heil of Texas covers South Texas and the state of New Mexico for Vac-Con. And they built out this demo to be really versatile. So it's a single engine, 12 cubic yard debris tank, 1,300 gallons of water with a Pro reel. And they went with a PD blower for the vacuum system. So I'll go through some of how all that can be changed. The reason we went with this build is because it's versatile and a contractor could pick this up and use it. A municipality could pick this up and use it. And you'll see, as we walk through this truck, you'll see how they really go through and left some empty spaces around the truck. If somebody wanted to add some extra tool storage, some extra pipe storage, a water cooler rack, a trash bin, they left some space on so that the customer can buy this demo unit and really make it their own. So let's start up front and check out this SE12 Pro. One really important thing about any Vac-Con product that you buy is, one, it's very customizable. So all of these trucks can be modified to fit a customer's application, and everybody does things a little bit differently. So we have a lot of custom features to where you can really build this truck out as your own. We don't have a truck Model A or Model B, and then we say, you know what, these guys fit the Model B route, and we're gonna slap 3 options on the deck and send it down the road. That's not how we fly. We engineer each truck specifically to a certain customer's application. So you can go and do crazy stuff on the truck, and I'll go through some things that can be easily customized. But in reality, what I'm talking about here is we can run a single engine design or a dual engine design. We can also run a fan vacuum system or a PD blower vacuum system. So right there, you've got 4 choices to really start your process on a combo truck build. I can do a single engine PD, just like this truck that we're about to take a look at, a single engine fan, a dual engine PD, or a dual engine fan. So that's really where we're getting into the custom factor here. On top of that, we have different control systems. So this truck has the Pro reel. We also have a standard articulating reel with classic controls. Everything's 12 volt. You got physical switches, analog gauges, left, right, up, down. It's all hardwired. That's our classic style. You could also go with a standard reel and digital joysticks, with dual joysticks with a digital control system. That's another way you can run this truck. So again, there's even more features where you can really pick and choose what's right for your application. And if you're an operator or if you're running a business, what do the operators like to run? We need those guys to be comfortable. We also, as you'll see as we look through the truck, we got to make the mechanics feel comfortable too, or the guys doing the fleet service on the truck. So we're thinking about all those aspects when we build out a Vac-Con. So let's dive into this truck. Like I said, it's a single engine PD, and this is a SE12 Pro. Single engine PD blower, 1,300 gallons of water, 12 cubic yard debris tank. We're gonna start off up front with the Pro reel. The Pro reel is something that's completely unique in the industry, and it is for sure a game changer. Now, we designed this reel not only for operator ergonomics and ease of setup, ease of operation, but we also really paid attention to safety. If you look at most of the accidents that occur when you run a combination sewer cleaning truck, as far as traffic flow goes and operation goes, it really happens at the setup process and the breakdown process a lot of the times when the guys are setting things up. As far as accidents and collisions, that's where the safety factor really needs to take a step up. That's what we've come up with Pro reel here. So we're trying to eliminate how many times the operators are going from inside the cab out to the front of the truck, and we're also trying to put them in the best position possible at the front of the truck when they're set up over top of a manhole. So when they're cleaning, we want them to be in the best position they could possibly be in. So I'll explain myself here. With the Pro Reel, you have 70 square feet of working range out in front of the truck. Be exact, it's really 69.6 square feet, but I round up to 70. So the reason we have that much work area is because this reel articulates 180 degrees and you have full articulation, but it also slides across the front bumper side to side. So you can clean manholes that are clear on the curb side of the truck, anywhere on the inside of the front bumper, or anywhere on the driver's side of the truck. So you really have a full 69.6 square feet working range all the way out in front of the truck. So this helps with the ease of setup. A lot of times when guys are running combo trucks, they pull up, they might have to have somebody hop out of the truck, pull them forward, back them up so that they can get lined up comfortably on top of that manhole. What we do on the Pro Reel is you have a camera on the front end of the reel, and it's equipped with a sewer guidance system. So inside the cab, there's a camera monitor. That camera monitor shows a highlighted area, and that highlighted area is your work area. So when you pull up and you look at that highlighted area off your sewer guidance system, if a manhole or catch basin is anywhere inside your highlighted area, you know you could reach it. You go ahead, press neutral, pull the parking brake, and get to work. You know you're lined up every single time when you use that front camera and use that sewer guidance system. So that's the ease of setup as far as getting placed on the manhole correctly. Now, once we actually start cleaning, this is where another safety aspect comes in. We have our control panel here that's attached to our Pro Reel. Now we can clean driver side, curb side, or anywhere in between, like I mentioned, but we want to set ourselves up for success when we pull up to that manhole. We want to keep ourselves out of traffic flow. We want to use the truck to block traffic and keep ourselves in a position that makes sense. So when I pull up, if I was cleaning a manhole in this current position, right where this reel is placed, and traffic flow was coming on the curb side of the truck, and I've got the driver's side over here, we're clear. Wouldn't make much sense for me to clean here with traffic flow at my back. So with this control panel, I can actually maneuver this into a place that makes sense and clean from the side where I can be observant of traffic flow and my back's never to traffic. So you have complete ability to set yourself up for success every single time with the Pro Reel and keep all operators away from the traffic flow. So that's a big thing on the safety side there. Now, let's pile on to the safety aspect even further. Anytime you have a front hose reel and a boom on a combo truck, and you're driving around early in the morning or late at night, that hose reel and boom, no matter what truck, is blocking a portion of your headlights from that chassis. There's really no way around it. You're gonna have some portion blocked because those headlights have a wide spray to them, and you're gonna get blocked by the hose reel. So what we've done as a standard on all Pro Reels, there is a light mounted right underneath the Pro Reel that acts as a third headlight. So anytime your headlights are on, that third headlight's shining forward, you always have illumination at the front of the truck. You're never driving around at nighttime anymore in the dark. That is another safety aspect that the Pro Reel exceeds in. So just to get into the reel in a little bit more depth, when you look at one of our standard hose reels, we were able to construct the reel out of aluminum. So this whole structure is aluminum. That took off 550 pounds off the front end of the truck. So any portion of a combo truck, the steering axle is really gonna be the heaviest, so any weight we can take off is great. But along with those weight savings, it allowed us to get a little bit creative. So we use a rotary actuator for our articulation in and out for the reel. So when you stop this reel position, it stops in unlimited locking positions around its articulation. You don't get any play or wobble in that at all. That's because we've eliminated any chain or sprocket drive here. It's just done through that rotary actuator. So that's really beefed up the reel itself. It also allowed us to get rid of a stabilizer or outrigger leg underneath the reel just because it's so much more structured. Our standard reel will still have a stabilizer for extra support. On the back side of the reel, we have a planetary motor. So that planetary motor is the same philosophy for your payout and your retrieve. So now this hose reel has unlimited locking positions as well, instead of using a chain and sprocket drive. So I always tell people, I would be extremely confident in my statement here. I can drive this truck from Florida to Northern California, and I will hop out and tighten this hose 0 times. it will not get any slack. It will not move in and out, and you have to come out and tighten your hose up every once in a while. Back in the day, we were doing that, and a lot of trucks have to do that. But with the way that this is set up, with that unlimited locking position here on the payout and retrieve, no need to do that anymore. Another thing that really highlights the engineers at Vac-Con and having them corroborate with us out in the field is the fact that there's always been a pain point in, and I'm gonna move this panel back a second, lock it into position here. One pain point you've always had running any truck with a hose reel is when that hose hits a blockage and you're not paying attention, and the hose jumps over the side of the reel either way. So what we've done is we've built in a smooth ramp at the top of this reel structure here. And that actually has a small tolerance where that hose can't jump over the side of the hose reel on either side. So what that does is it maintains your hose where it's supposed to be. So even if you were to hit that blockage, it's gonna happen out here. It's not going to jump over either side of the reel. So just another little detail, and I love the details, and I get to talking about the details a lot because as an operator, it makes a huge difference, those little things like that. On top of some more little things, we can clean from either side of the reel. Why not put a boat cleat on either side of the reel, tie off a tiger tail, hose guide? We don't want you to have to pull that rope from another side of the reel. If you can clean from both sides, you should be able to put a tiger tail on either side. Winter recirculation, for those of you that are in a really, really cold climate. I don't know if you can tell from the video, but I'm in the mountains, but desert mountains. So it doesn't get extremely cold here. But if you are in cold weather, it's really nice that this winter recirculation valve travels with the reel. So I used to be up in the Northeast a lot, and when I would winter recirc, if you have to detach that hose, then get set up over top of the manhole, then set your nozzle on, the time you're not recirculating is the dangerous time where you could freeze, right? So as long as we're recirculating water, fast-moving stream doesn't freeze. Since this recirc valve travels with the reel, I can actually put my reel in the position over top of a manhole with no lid on top of it. I'm completely ready to go. Now I can detach my hose, connect my nozzle, and start cleaning immediately. So it's nice to have that little valve that travels with the reel. We got a rod holder on the side bumper. I'm tacking on more little details as I go. Rod holder off the side of that bumper there for a low pressure handgun. That way you don't have to toss a low pressure handgun on the ground anytime you use it. Just set it in that rod holder in a nice convenient place. You can switch back and forth from jetting and using that low pressure gun quickly and easily. I'm gonna cover grease points on the truck. Now there's 2 grease points on this Pro reel. It comes with remote grease zerks. You have one at your rotary union right up front, just like normal. And then you've got one on the driver's side of the reel that greases your bearing on the inside. So really easy to grease. 2 grease zerks up front. Now, Heil of Texas built this demo out with a manual level wind guide. You can go with an automatic level wind guide, and it's a popular feature. If you wanted to go with an automatic level wind guide, it would jog back and forth automatically here at that hose reel, and you wouldn't have to think much about it. Heil of Texas is hands-on. They want to move this by hand, so a lot of guys do. You pull this pin, and you put that hose back on the reel manually, nice and easy, but we have automatic level wind guide as an option. Another thing that they added, this truck has variable flow. So this is a variable flow valve. It's set up for 60 gallons per minute at 3,000 PSI, which is a great in-between variable setting where I can go clean storm lines, I can clean sanitary lines. I'm pretty great at both of those with 60 at 3. Instead of dedicating a storm truck where it's 80 at 2,500 and I'm cleaning a bunch of 8 to 12 inch lines, or going 50 at 3 and not being able to effectively have big flow and giant storm pipe. So this one's set up at 60 at 3. If I wanted to carry some 30 gallon per minute at 3,000 PSI nozzles on the truck, I can taper this down to 30 gallons per minute, use a 30 gallon per minute nozzle and use it optimally and save more water and spend more time over top of the manhole, which is really the goal when we're cleaning lines. So all that setup here is just some accessories right here on the Pro reel. I haven't even dived into the controls yet, but a lot of these little features really set the tone for how we like to build these trucks. We like to pay attention to the details. It makes sense to. If you're running this truck all day, you want to have a manufacturer that pays attention to those small things. All right, now let's check out our control system. Now, it looks like there's a lot going on here. There's really not. It's very simple. So you got 2 8-button switch packs. You got a 7-inch digital display up top. When you look at this hose reel, you got your e-stop in the middle. Obviously, during any emergency, you slap that e-stop. It shuts the truck down completely safely. But you split this control center down the middle. You've got water on the left and vacuum on the right. So I'll go over how basic this really is. Let's go over the 7-inch digital display first. So when you're looking at the display and you're looking up at the top right, you're gonna read your water pressure. Water pressure's up on that top right. It's gonna read out that live pressure to you. The nice thing about a single engine Pro Reel is you get a target pressure arrow on your pressure gauge. So if I want to clean at 1500 PSI, I set my green target arrow on the pressure gauge up to 1500, and my needle, which is actual pressure, follows and hunts down that green arrow. So if I set up and I want to clean at 2000 PSI, I set my target pressure to 2000 PSI, and the blue needle, which is my actual pressure, hunts down that green arrow and won't go above it. There's no pulsation. It sits right where I set that pressure. So that's how your pressure works up top right. Underneath that, you've got a digital footage counter. Nice thing about a digital footage counter is not a lot of people think about this, but on your hose reel, your outer wraps of hose are longer than the inner wraps of hose. So to be as accurate as possible with a digital footage counter, it needs to understand that, which this system does. So as you pay out, it understands that as you're diminishing the wraps on the outer portion of that hose reel, your hose length per wrap is getting shorter. So you have a very, very accurate digital footage counter here, and you've got a reset footage button off to the side. So if you go 20 foot deep into a manhole, reset it back to 0, start counting horizontally, nice and easy on your control panel here. Underneath your footage counter, you have your hose reel max speed. So we can set up our max speed for our hose reel. So I mentioned that water was on the left-hand side. So this is gonna be your payout and retrieve here at this joystick. And there's a little button on top of it. When I press and hold this button, it unlocks to a 1% max speed. Now, I like to use a 1% max speed for getting my nozzle down into the manhole, bringing my nozzle up out of the manhole, or if I'm really trying to hammer away at a blockage and go back and forth at it, I can set up in that creep mode or that 1%. But then every time I click this button, it's gonna go 25% max speed, 50, 75, 100. And then if I press it again, it locks out. So that way if I bump it, it doesn't move the hose reel. So that max speed setting is really nice when you have different guys running a truck, or you're going up to lines in different situations. If I wanted to clean at 50% max speed, I set this to 50, I hammer down, it's going 50% max speed, I don't have to really worry about much. Maybe I wanna set it up to 100% max speed. In that case, I can go fast or slow, or pick up and go fast again. And it's completely proportional no matter what speed setting or max speed setting we've set. So you have complete proportions, but having that max speed setting there really makes it operator friendly depending on the situation you're in. You might want to go fast, you might want to go nice and slow. So that's another simple way to control your max speed. In the top left, you've got your vacuum level indicator. So there's 3 levels of vacuum. You have them listed here as 1, 2, and 3. Right now I'm not vacuuming, so they're gray. If I pick up my vacuum level intervals, they will light up green as I go through my stages. So I go to vacuum level 1, it shines green in stage 1. I go to stage 2, 2 is green. I go to stage 3, and 3 is green. So it reads out to you automatically at that top left. Underneath that, I've got a digital debris tank level gauge and a digital water level gauge. So I can read it here from my operator station, but I have bubble sights on my tanks for my water tanks. I have an arrow on my debris tank. I still have those physical gauges, but this digital readout makes it to where I don't have to walk around that truck to check that stuff. I can just read it right here, making things, again, really simple. This is the coolest thing about this digital display though, is the bottom left has a Vac-Con image on it with a gear on the inside. Now, my big thing that I always tell everybody is, I don't want you operating the truck inside the cab. Drive the truck in the cab, operate the truck from the front at the operator station. So I don't want to make you do any operation sequence in that cab at all. I want you to come up, press neutral, pull the parking brake. On this one, it has a transmission mounted PTO. So we hit a PTO switch to turn our hydraulics on, but that's it. I hop out, I do everything from the front. So the way that the drive system's set up on this truck, everything's off the transfer case. So we have the water hydrostatically driven off the transfer case and the vacuum hydrostatically driven off the transfer case. So With that being said, if I want to use water or vacuum, I need to engage my transfer case. But engaging that transfer case, a lot of people think, oh, I don't want a transfer case. I don't want to have any more operation than I need to do. Hey, hold on. Things have changed. You have one button transfer case engagement, and it happens right here at the operator station. When I press this T-case button, the light goes green and it says T-case on, and my gear on this truck starts spinning. That tells me that my transfer case is engaged. From there, I can go throughout my normal operation. When I'm done, I always tell everybody, disengage it right here, press that button, that T-case button again, it says T-case off, that gear stops spinning. But here's the thing. Again, I don't want you operating this truck in the cab, but sometimes we go out and we are jetting a line, we don't think we have to vacuum at all. Then we start bringing back material like, oh, I am gonna vacuum this up. Hey, no need to hop in the cab, do it all from here. But let's say, maybe it's a Friday at 3 p.m. and we're trying to get the heck out of here. Maybe I'm rushing a little bit and I forgot to disengage my transfer case at the front of the truck. I hopped in the cab, I've stored everything up. The only thing I didn't do is disengage my transfer case. Well, hey, don't get out of the cab. You can disengage the transfer case right there in the cab too. So I don't have to come back out here to disengage it. Just do everything in there, you're fine. So you have complete capability of engaging and disengaging the transfer case with the push of one button inside the cab or at the front operator station. It's your choice. If I'm training you, I would say, let's engage and disengage out here and keep operations simple right here at the front of the truck. Another cool thing, since I'm on my safety soapbox here, another cool thing is, lighting has a lot to do with safety too. And we can light this thing up as much as you want, but a cool thing on the Pro Reel, if I go to menu and I press advanced lighting here at the top right, it shows a bird's eye view of the truck. And I have all of my lights on this panel where I can turn my front strobes on and it shows me my front strobes are on, which obviously I can see from right here that my front strobes are on. Not extremely important here. But if I'm working at nighttime or early in the morning in the dark and I'm working off the front of the truck and I turn my rear strobes and rear floods on and I want to light up the back area to warn people, hey, move over, I'm working up here. I don't have to walk back there and make sure those lights are on. I control it from right here. I can see on this bird's eye view that all my rear lights are on. So another thing, just to keep you out of harm's way up here at the front of the truck, stay up here, stay tucked in. I don't need to walk back there to check that stuff out. So let's get into the switch packs here. I mentioned we got the water on the left, the vacuum on the right. I haven't mentioned the boom joystick yet. It's really simple. There is a trigger on the backhand side for safety. You need to hold that trigger down to operate the boom from here. I can go boom up, boom down, boom left, and boom right. And then the toggle switches up top is to telescope that boom in and out. Really easy. Switch pack wise, on my water switch pack, I've got my water pump on and off. I have my jet hose on and off. So I have an air actuated ball valve for my jet hose. If I'm cleaning lines up here, you got 3 nice easy steps. Turn your water on, tell the water where to go, and pick your pressure. That's all you gotta do. If anybody ever says that they're doing it in less steps than that, you gotta really question this. What part of that operation are they taking away from you? I want the control of telling my water pump on or off, telling that water where to go, and then picking my pressure on my own, because I'm the one running this truck. So from there, to disengage everything, you would turn your pressure down, turn the jet hose off, turn the water pump off, just in reverse order. So water pump on and off, jet hose on and off, water increase and decrease are here on the right-hand side of the switch pack. Then these switches on the inside are just to control your hose reel. So I can go reel in or reel out, which is the articulation of the reel. And then I've got reel curbside and reel driver side, which slides that reel across the front bumper either side. Now, I've got a wireless remote where I can do all that from the wireless too, but if I'm standing here, I can just do it from the switch pack as well. Right-hand side switch pack is for vacuum. So I've got a work mode switch. So let me go, before I even talk about work mode, if I wanted to vacuum, again, it's 3 steps. I engage the transfer case, I turn my work mode on, I pick my vacuum level. When I'm done, I turn my vacuum level down, turn work mode off, turn the transfer case off. Nice and easy, 3 steps. It doesn't really get much easier than that. So I got my work mode, I got my vacuum increase and decrease. The bottom left is a vacuum breaker switch. So the vacuum breaker is a really important piece of this truck, and I'm gonna get into a little bit more detail of that as we go. But if I'm using it from here, this is really what I'm gonna use it for. If I'm digging a hole, hydrovacing, or if I'm in a catch basin, a manhole, and there's a big brick at the bottom of it, I go to full vacuum, I can suction down on that brick, lift that boom up out of that hole, manhole, catch basin, whatever I'm in, bring that brick or that rock over to the side. I press my vacuum breaker button. It seals my vacuum, but I'm still at full vacuum. Rock falls off. I press my vacuum breaker door open again, and I get immediate vacuum, full vacuum again. So it's just an immediate seal to let things fall off the end of that boom. That way you're not turning your vacuum down, turning your vacuum off, getting a pry bar and trying to get a rock off the end of the boom. Makes things really easy here, just to seal that vacuum immediately, right with the push of a button. I have a vacuum bypass button here. Now, the reason this is important, it allows me, since this is a single engine truck, to increase or decrease my engine RPMs without vacuuming. If I'm just jetting lines and I want to increase my RPMs, I can bypass my vacuum, increase here, raise my RPMs as high as I want, and get the most power possible. But I don't necessarily have to have that vacuum engaged. If I want to start vacuuming after that, I just turn vacuum bypass off, increase my vacuum again, and now I'm vacuuming. But I have complete control over it over here. Otherwise, that's your switch packs. So we'll keep moving forward. So let's talk about the boom. You've got a 10-foot telescopic boom here. Now, this extends just like it sounds. It telescopes 10 feet out from this stored position here. When you're perpendicular to the truck, you get about 27 feet of reach. But here's the important thing not a lot of people talk about, because Vac-Con's the only one that really does this a great way, with a front-mounted boom at least. We picked this boom up, and most people have that 180-degree rotation. With a Vac-Con front-mounted boom, 10-foot telescopic boom, we have 230 degrees of rotation. So I can go way farther back and work in those odd areas off to either side of the truck instead of being limited to 180 degrees. On top of that, let's talk about how the boom is stored on the truck. So this is our standard boom tie down. You have a headache rack behind the cab. It's a flat headache rack. That boom sits right on top of that headache rack, and that stores it from any vertical movement. And then right here at this storage location, this is the tie down area. There's a little top hat that sits right here. It sits about this tall, and it looks like Abraham Lincoln's top hat. I call it an Abe Lincoln top hat. But the boom sits right on top of that Abe Lincoln top hat there. And then I just got a normal clamp here that's tethered that I can clamp on, but if I'm going manhole to manhole, no need to clamp it. I'm driving all over the place right now, so I clamped it on. But you have enough support there to where that's supporting it from moving horizontally side to side. So that large structure here makes it so that boom can't sway as well. So that's the tie down system on our boom there. If you have any issues with wearing out elbows, this is our standard steel elbow. So let's say it lasts you, it's a wear item, but it could last you anywhere from 1 year if you're crazy and you're doing a whole lot of hydroexcavation with really harsh material, sandblasting the heck out of it. Could last you 10 years, 20 years, who knows? But if you're that person that's running it and you are wearing out an elbow in 1 year, we have a solution for you. We have a tungsten-infused carbide elbow. So there's tungsten-infused carbide on the inside of the elbow that really give you a much longer life. And it's the only elbow in the industry, to my knowledge at least, that has a warranty on it, because it is a wear item. But we said, you know what? It's tungsten-infused carbide. If they upgrade to a tungsten-infused carbide elbow, we're so confident in it, we're gonna throw a warranty on top of it too. So you have that as an option. We also do an option for a 10-inch inlet. So if you're a guy that hydrovacs a lot or hits catch basins with a lot of large material in it often, you can keep your 8-inch intake section, 8-inch aluminum pipe, but once it reaches that elbow up there, 10-inch diameter, all the way back into the debris tank. So that's an option too. It really eliminates the clogs that you would get if you're running into that often. We have other ways of getting around it too with 8-inch to 6-inch digging tubes. But if you're somebody that likes to work with 8-inch, you can go with the 10-inch boom inlet all the way back into the debris tank. So let's talk about the chassis or the cab. So we will put a Vac-Con body on any chassis brand that you want. If you like Peterbilt, Mack, Freightliner, Western Star, Kenworth, International, whatever you choose, we can work with you on specs to make sure that we're putting a Vac-Con body on a truck that you want. Now, I will say though, Vac-Con stocks Freightliner and Western Star chassis in-house. So that really helps on the lead time things. Now, this is my favorite truck, and it's a Freightliner 114 SD Plus. I really like the combination of Freightliner along with Cummins and Allison transmission. So that's our most popular truck, but again, we use them all. just to go over what's here. Like I said, Freightliner 114 SD Plus, Cummins L9, 370 horsepower with a Allison 3000 RDS automatic transmission. So with this Plus model, the interior of the chassis has gotten a lot of upgrades. I actually have a short video on, if you're on TikTok or YouTube or anywhere, you can watch an interior tour of the cab, which I won't get into all of that today, but we don't do bare bone chassis options. Our stock chassis, it's an air ride cab, dual air ride seats, power windows, power mirrors, heated mirrors, Bluetooth radio, cruise control, inner axle lock, a telescopic steer wheel that's adjustable. You've got a lot of stuff in there to make it really nice. And you can modify things if you want, and we can special order you something different if you'd like as well. We also have big bore options for the Freightliner side. And on the Western Star, we typically do big bore on the Western Star, but we can also special order you Western Star with a mid-range chassis as well. So the options are really endless there, but like I said, quick lead time, this is the truck I would recommend. So now let's get back into talking Vac-Con body. So I mentioned how customizable all this stuff is. Now, the easiest things to configure on a Vac-Con, brand new, is lights, cameras, tool storage, and pipe storage. We can do anything you want with any of those things as long as it fits on the truck that you're choosing. So with lights, I say this all the time, you can light this thing up like a Christmas tree. You can do anything you want to do with lights. I'll go over what Heil chose on their truck. For floodlights or work lights, they have 2 LEDs on the boom, shining down wherever that boom goes. They have a work light on either side of the truck and 2 out the back of the truck. For warning lights or strobe lights, they've got a beacon on the mirror, a strobe on the rear debris tank, 6 strobes around the body of the truck, and then they have an arrow stick out the back for a traffic advisory. Again, you can change all that stuff up to really make it fit what you do. That's really easy stuff there. For cameras, the Pro Reel comes with a front camera that we talked about with the sewer guidance system. It also comes with a rear camera. If you wanted to add any cameras to that, here's some options for you. Again, we can do whatever you want to do, but here's what's popular. Blind spot monitoring or side cameras. So we tie a camera up to the mirror, right blinkers on, right blind spot. Left blinkers on, left blind spot. So that's pretty popular. Another popular option is a bird's eye view camera. So along with those front and rear cameras, we would put wide angle cameras on all sides of the truck. Those camera angles stitch together and give you a bird's eye view on top of the truck, similar to what your pickup truck or car would have. There, it shows you right on top of the truck with all those cameras stitched together. So if you're turning down a tight alleyway, you can see that corner and make sure that you're not cutting the corner short. So if you have anybody walking around, traffic moving around you, pedestrians walking around the truck, you can see everything. That's another option as well. As far as tool storage goes, this long handle storage box here is our standard box. So this will come on any full-size combo truck, anything 5 yards and up. Now, it's 16-inch by 42-inch by 96-inch. So, big thing here, long handle storage. You got tubes inside for your hydroexcavation lances and anything else long handle you want to keep under lock and key. This rack inside can be adjusted up or down to whatever you like. You can even do pull-out shelves on this box as well. Now, this is diamond plate aluminum. Heil of Texas had to get a little bit of fancy, and they went with diamond plate aluminum. But I really like black steel boxes. I think they look sharp. I think they look good on the truck. So we do flat black steel or diamond plate aluminum. Again, you're picking the truck. You're designing it the way you want to. So that's an option for you. As far as tool storage goes, we also have 2 boxes on the rear on the saddles. Since this is a tandem axle truck with 1,300 gallons of water, I have a tool storage box on either saddle in the rear, just for some extra storage there. If you were to go tandem axle with 1,500 gallons of water, we would put water tanks there. So that's really more for tandem axle units with 1,300 gallons of water, which is real popular. But that's your tool storage there. As far as pipe storage goes, this is our most popular pipe rack. It's a Lazy Susan pipe rack or a rotating pipe rack. So with this setup, this rack rotates around. It's really, really easy to maneuver. The reason it's so popular, in my opinion, is you get 5 pipes in a real compact area in one location, so you're not walking all around the truck. You got 5 pipes here, easy to access. If you wanted extra pipe storage, we do folding pipe racks off the curb side of the debris tank, folding pipe racks off the back door of the debris tank. We do, physical racks anywhere you want on the truck. Again, if there's room for it, we're gonna find the pipe storage for you. If you need more than 8, 12 pipes, I want to come figure out what you're doing for work and see how crazy that is. But we do have guys that do that. We got guys that go deep lift stations, deep manholes. So if you need that pipe length, we got storage for it. Some other little things to point out. We talked about the grease zerks on the front at the hose reel. This has remote grease for the boom and remote grease for the debris tank as well. So right here at this grease bank, I've got 3 grease zerks that are remote grease. It's telling me where the grease is going and how many pumps go into each zerk. To make it as simple as possible, you're greasing those 2 zerks at the front hose reel, and you're greasing right here for your remote grease locations. It's all ground level, easy to get to. One last thing I like to point out too, paint. I know we're getting really in detail here, but I like paint. It makes the truck look good, right? So they picked a nice deep blue color with a white stripe. Anytime you pick your paint color, you get the debris tank, the back door, the sides of the truck, the Pro Reel cover, the bumper end caps, and the sunshade over your 7-inch digital display. All that stuff is going to be in the color that you select. Now the stripe can be any color you select too, but the stripe is always reflective. So another safety thing. You got a stripe going down either side of the truck and some V stripes on the back door. And those all shine white or shine bright at nighttime, making sure that anybody coming down the road is going to see it even if your lights aren't on. So that's just another thing there. And then the really important thing about the paint side, one, we used a zinc-based primer all over the truck. So that zinc-based primer really acts as a corrosion control. So if I were to drop a wrench on the deck here and popped a hole in the paint, that hole is down to the bare metal. There's gonna be rust that goes onto that bare metal, but that zinc primer holds it there to where it doesn't grow around the truck. So we do that on every truck. It's a standard. All of our Vac-Con products, zinc-based primer. But this black paint that you see on the interior of the body here, on that PD blower, on that exhaust, on the hydraulic reservoir, on the boom, that's all textured black paint. So that textured black paint, it's textured, but it's not as coarse as like a truck bed liner. It's still slick enough to keep it clean, to where you can wash it down and it's not holding a bunch of stains and grease and grit on the deck. But the cool thing, it's 6 times thicker than normal paint. So it really helps this truck look great for a long period of time. So one really important thing on any Vac-Con combination truck, or Hydrovac for that matter, is our water tank storage. We use cross-linked polyethylene water tanks, so they're completely non-corrosive, and they have a standard warranty in the industry, which is a 10-year warranty. But with these cross-linked polyethylene water tanks, these lower tanks, I've got 2 here, 2 on the other side, 2 up top, 2 on the other side, for a total of 8 tanks with this 1,300-gallon truck. But these tanks below come up to here in the frame. So 80% of your water is below the frame of the truck, which makes for the lowest center of gravity in the industry. There is no other truck that has a low center of gravity like that because they're not putting that water underneath the truck like this. So I can ride around full of water and have a really, really nice low center of gravity instead of putting it above the frame of the truck, where as soon as I fill up with water, I have a very, very top-heavy nature to the truck. So with this setting, again, on the safety standpoint, when you're driving the truck around, we're thinking about that as well. We want to keep you with a low center of gravity when you're driving around. So that's a major standpoint. Now, there's 4 tanks below, 4 tanks up top. Why would you do that, John? Well, think about this. Somebody 6 years after you buy a truck comes up, backs their truck up, pops a trailer hitch through one of the water tanks. And we've got an emergency at the mayor's house the next that night, and my sales rep's going to bring me a new water tank the next day. We're overnighting it to them. They have it in stock. I can take these steps off and take these support frames off, pull that water tank, plug it, and go out and finish that job, get that blockage, make sure that we've got everything nice and cleaned up. The next day you come in, take that plug off, replace this one little tank, and put your steps and frames back on. That's much nicer than replacing an extremely expensive one-piece tank on the side of the truck. It's modular on purpose. We want, throughout the life of the truck, this to be an easy thing for you. Not that you're gonna be replacing water tanks often. Don't take that out of context. Your buddy backed his trailer hitch into it. So this is something that we're thinking about, the lifelong nature of this truck. Through its life, we want it to be something where you can easily fix things. And you'll see a lot of that as we keep rolling through the walk around here. So we talked about water storage. Let's talk about how we're actually pushing water, or our water flow. We have a triplex water pump on the truck. We use two different types of water pumps, but they're both triplex water pumps. We use FMC and Giant water pumps. Now, they're both triplex. Why is that important? Well, we think it's very important to give the operator smooth, continuous flow and pressure at all times. We don't want any water to be pulsating. We don't want any jackhammer effect. My truck does not break blockages. My water pump does not break blockages. This truck is only as good as the tools that you use to do the necessary job. So it's about the nozzle. That nozzle breaks the blockage. That nozzle is the thumb over the garden hose. And I want to provide that nozzle with the flow and pressure it was designed for. So if I'm using a blockage nozzle that's jetted for 60 gallons per minute at 3,000 PSI, I want to give it that 3,000 PSI constantly. I can clean that line at 2,500 PSI, but I'm giving it that constant pressure. If I set it to 2,500 PSI, I get 2,500 PSI until I run out of water. There's no pulsation or jumping. That's why I don't put a pinch roller on the back of that reel, or I don't have to worry about making sure that I have an accumulator on the side of the truck. No, it's smooth, continuous flow and pressure. That's the design of the water pump. And it doesn't matter if it's Giant or FMC. That's what we do on all of our trucks. So to give you a good example of that, let's say that you're using a root cutter, a chain cutter, or we'll bring it down a notch. Let's say that we're using a spinning nozzle, an Ends Bulldog or a Keg Aqua Power, a spinning nozzle. Over time, let's say that over time, we haven't been cleaning that nozzle great. We used it, put it away wet. It might not start spinning until you hit that 1,800 PSI mark, that 2,000 PSI mark. Well, let's say it's 1,500 PSI, it starts spinning. And I put that nozzle in the line, and I set it to 1,800 PSI. Well, if I feed it with 1,800 PSI, it's spinning constantly. But if I'm using something that doesn't have smooth, continuous flow and pressure, I think you catch my drift there, that nozzle is going to pick up speed and slow down. Pick up speed and slow down. And imagine if there was chains on the end of that with a chain cutter. So that's another reason we use smooth, continuous flow and pressure. You got to think, most people that are running this truck, including myself, unless I have a camera crew with me, I don't see what that pipe looks like as I'm cleaning it. It's underground. So I want to use smooth, continuous flow and pressure to my advantage. I want to clean on my way out. I want to clean on my way in. I don't want to have to second guess if I'm leaving stripes in that line of grease. I don't want to leave stripes. I want to clean that pipe. That's why we use a water pump like this. Now, we've got 4 places that we can send water on the truck. We talked about the front jet hose, nice and easy. Jet hose on, you got water flow. We have 3 other places we can send water. We have a low pressure handgun, a hydroexcavation system, or a high pressure handgun. And in the back of the tank, I have a debris tank flush out. So all 3 places that we can send water that I just talked about have a ball valve associated with it right here on the curb side of the truck. So each ball valve's labeled, so I know if I want to send water to one of those locations, I send water using the ball valve associated with it. Low pressure handgun is going to be regulated at 750 PSI. The high pressure or hydroexcavation is going to get 3,000 PSI. It's going to get the max pressure of the water pump. This is 60 at 3,000. I get 3,000 PSI out of it. I still like having that 750 PSI on here because if you can imagine, if we took that 3,000 PSI and cleaned this truck off, it's probably not going to be blue anymore. So it takes the paint off easy. So using that low pressure and high pressure for the right situation is great. Now, the debris tank flush out also gets 3,000 PSI. So you can really cut away at material in that debris tank and make your job of cleaning up a lot easier than you would without that feature. So I can go back there and spray out my screen in the debris tank, but as far as the debris goes, I'm gonna let the debris tank flush out handle that. So with this system, I've got the low pressure, the high pressure debris tank flush out, 4 total places to send water. But with the hydroexcavation system, it's not just cut and dry just like everybody else. We do this very specialized. We have a 50-foot reel. You have a high pressure digging lance where you can put a dig pig silencer, a rip saw, a ends pistol nozzle, an ends MJ4 nozzle. You can put quick disconnect digging attachments on that, no problem. With this 50-foot reel, it pulls out just like the low pressure reel. It has locking positions all throughout that 50-foot length. But when I send that water through the high pressure system, it's flowing through a high pressure unloader as well. So when I squeeze that trigger and I get 3,000 PSI out of my hydroexcavation lance and I let that trigger go, that water, that flow and pressure has to go somewhere. And we don't want it to deadhead against that water pump and smack that water pump. So when I let go of that trigger, that flow and pressure gets unloaded here. The springed unloader unloads the flow and pressure and dumps it back to the water tank. Now, that's not something an operator needs to think about. It happens automatically. But I can stand out here all day, fill this truck up with 1,300 gallons, and squeeze this trigger and let it go. I could do it all night. It'll get dark out here, but I can squeeze that trigger all day. I'm not going to damage anything. This high pressure unloader is going to dump it back to the tanks every single time. That's why we design it with that system in place. Another important note is that we don't use water to cool anything on this truck either. We're using water to work. I don't want to have to keep water on board to cool my hydraulic system or anything like that. The water is there for me to use. So we use air-cooled hydraulics and air-cooled transfer case oil. So I have a dedicated cooling fan right here for my hydraulic system. And then I've got a dedicated cooling fan that's small on the other side just for my transfer case oil. So we have separate air coolers for both of them. You're not going to run into problems overheating. We don't need any separate water pumps to run the hydroexcavation system. Water's not getting hot. I'm not using any water to cool my system whatsoever. I'm using it to work. So now we can take a good look at our little side control box here. This is our debris tank control center. To be honest with you, if I've got a wireless remote, I dump way back there and watch the debris come out. And if you follow any of my pages, you know I'm probably like sitting there with a camera while I'm controlling the remote and dumping the debris tank. But I can dump from here if I want to. If I don't have a wireless remote, this is where I dump. I've got door open, door closed, tank up, tank down. So you have full, complete control from here. But if you have a wireless remote, you can control it from there as well. One cool thing about the Pro Reel is it comes with an emergency backup hydraulic pump. So with that being said, let's say you had an issue and your boom's out or your debris tank's up. This backup hydraulic pump button here, I hold it down for about 4 seconds, and when I let it go, it starts that emergency backup hydraulic pump. I can move anything hydraulically on this truck that I want. I can lower my debris tank, I can lower my boom, I can bring back hose from a manhole if I'm, my chassis did something and shut down on me and I have hose in the pipe. I can turn that backup pump on and take that hose and bring it back. Now, it's not as fast as using your normal hydraulic pump, but definitely gets you out of a sticky situation if you have a chassis issue. So that's there just for peace of mind. If you run into any issues, we want you to be able to get stored instead of climbing up and bleeding hydraulic lines or messing with solenoids. Just press this button and control the truck like normal. You're all good. You don't have to worry about it. So like I mentioned at the beginning, this is a single engine PD. So we've got a PD blower for our vacuum system. This is a Roots 827 RCS. We also use Roots 824 RCS. Heil, Texas went with an 827. So this blower is going to get 18 inches. It's an 18-inch blower. At 18 inches, it's going to pull 4,500 CFM. If you're curious about the differences between a Roots 824 RCS and a Roots 827 RCS, I have a video on that as well on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever you go, you can find a video of me explaining the difference between the two. But a really important thing to note, when we talk about a Vac-Con with a PD blower, it doesn't matter which PD blower it is, 824, 827, we do something a little bit different. And again, we think about every asset of somebody using this truck for a long life. We have our oil sight gauge facing out. Typically, when people are running these blowers, they're flipped the other direction and they're buried in the middle of the truck. We put it with that sight glass facing out. Now, some people like that, and I like it, but is that really a big deal? No. What I'm about to talk about is a huge deal, though. So when we orient the blower like this and mount it horizontally like this, we have a plenum right here. That plenum, in this case, is going to be like a clean-out chamber. So it's obviously an emergency clean-out chamber because I'll go over filtration on the other side of the truck, but we're actually pulling air through that plenum up into the blower and exhausting it through the top. So what we're doing is allowing an area for fallout down here just in case something goes awry. instead of it being mounted the opposite direction, there's no fallout chamber at all. It's being pulled into the blower horizontally. We're pulling that air up through the top of the blower. So this gives that little fraction of help when needed. So it's just an extra thing to think about. All 4 feet of the PD blower have rubber mounts above and below it. And then you got that big exhaust system up top. So all that being said, a PD blower is a PD blower. We all use the same types of PD blowers, but we're running it hydrostatically. And when we run a PD blower hydrostatically, one nice thing is you press that transfer case button, the blower's not spinning yet. I'm not spinning that blower until I tell it to increase. So when I say vacuum increase, that's when the blower starts. So I can engage this transfer case, get all set up, get my pipe on. I'm not just pulling vacuum, or I don't have to go back in the cab and then go into combo mode, turn my vacuum on. I just tell that blower from the front when I want it to turn on. That's the beauty of running hydrostatics. So that's a big section of your vacuum system, obviously. That's what's creating your vacuum. But we offer a fan vacuum system or a PD blower vacuum system. Typically, that fan is going to be a great solution for people that are doing 80% of their work or more is vertical, up and down. A PD blower is going to be a really versatile blower for a contractor or any municipality that needs to pull horizontally. So when I'm talking about pulling horizontally, that's a remote hose job where we're connecting flexible hose to our boom and we're pulling from 800 feet away from the truck, vacuuming all the way back to the truck. That's when a PD blower is going to be really, really optimal for you. They both have their place in the industry. Beautiful thing is we offer both of them. With a fan vacuum system, you can't be scared of it. If you're interested in a fan vacuum system, check out some of my other videos. One thing about a Vac-Con AeroBoost fan, our 3-stage fan, it's our only fan we offer. It will vacuum underwater, just like a PD blower will. So again, it's up to you which vacuum system you want. Heil went with the PD blower. You can choose between the fan and the PD blower. It's completely up to you. And from there, we have multiple different PD blowers for you to choose. But no matter what, it's going to be oriented like this and driven hydrostatically for you. That way, you have that peace of mind knowing that this is set up for success and that blower is only turning when I tell it to. Right above me here, I've got my debris tank level indicator. Now, this is a really important piece of the puzzle here. Not only is it my debris tank level indicator, but it's also responsible for my automatic overfill protection. So if I fill this debris tank all the way up, it's completely full, my vacuum's gonna automatically shut off. That's really important. We don't want to overfill a debris tank. But one thing that Vac-Con does a lot different is we don't depend on anything inside that debris tank to create a seal. We got a lot going on inside that debris tank as far as what material we're vacuuming up. Whether you're in sanitary or storm or hydroexcavation or all three, you've got a lot of stuff flying in that debris tank that's not something you want to hang out with, and it's not something you want to have messing around with a sealing system. So I'm talking about having a cage with a float ball in it that suctions to the top of the debris tank. We don't mess around with that. What we have is we have a float ball tied, a stainless steel float ball tied with a stainless steel arm. You could also do a poly float ball if you'd like, but that arrow up top, bottom dot's 3/4 full, top dot is full. Remember, we got sonar on the front if you want to read it from 0 up to 100. But as that debris rises, that float ball will rise with the debris once it hits 75%. And once it gets all the way full, that arrow hits a limit switch on the side of the truck, which closes my vacuum breaker door. That seals my vacuum breaker and does not allow me to vacuum any further. If you remember, we have a vacuum breaker switch at the front of the truck. So when I press that vacuum breaker button, that allows me to seal my vacuum. Same mechanism, except this one is automatic. Operator doesn't need to think about it. Now, as an operator, I like to pay attention to when I'm about to get full, mainly because when I'm at a lift station, I don't want my vacuum to cut off on me because then everything that's in that tube is coming back down. But for the most part, this is happening by itself. You don't have to worry about it. You fill up this debris tank all the way, that vacuum is cutting off. You can't overfill this debris tank. At the rear of the truck, we're checking out our back door and we can see a good look at our debris tank height. So we have 60-inch dump height as a standard. If you want to dump into a container, it's nice and easy to. With that 60-inch dump height, it also comes 12-foot max height on anything that's a 12-yard debris tank or lower. You get that 12-foot max height. When you go to a 15-yard debris tank, the biggest debris tank there, You're no longer 12-foot max height. You don't have the 60-inch dump height. That's just a sacrifice to have that bigger tank. That tank actually grows in diameter. But this has that 60-inch dump height, 12-foot max height, and we've got a flat door here. You got 4 wedge locks that lock that door positively in place, and you got 2 cylinders on the top of the door that control the door open and close. Now those cylinders are riding in oval-shaped receivers. The reason this is so important, when I open this door up, I can crack it open a little bit, anywhere from closed to this far open. I can crack it open as much as I want. Then from there, I can open this up and let the floodgates go. But if I want to control that dumping process, I can easily just because of those receivers on those cylinders. Now, I can tell you till I'm blue in the face how robust this truck is and how it's overbuilt and how it's built to last years and years. Again, remember the title of the video, it's the best truck in the industry. There's a hint to what I'm going to say at the end. But if you look at these wedge locks, these are some thick wedge locks back here. I mean, I can barely touch my fingers on the other side of it. If you look at other trucks in the industry, they aren't built that way. This is built different. So those wedge locks are nice. They're thick locks. They positively seal the door in place. And you're not having to worry about wear and tear over time on this back door. Now, another thing to point out, you got a 6-inch knife valve here. That 6-inch knife valve is a gravity decant. So I can pop this open, tilt this debris tank up in the air, put this lay flat hose out and decant through a screen that's a hanging screen on the back door. Now, that's gonna keep my solids in the debris tank, let my water flow through that gravity decant. But one thing that happens no matter what, especially if you're on the sanitary side, you get rags or any type of material that clogs up that decant valve. It happens often. That's why we put it so high here. It looks really high. I could put one low for you, but we put it at this location so it decreases the amount of material that gets clogged in that decant valve. If you want to put one lower, you can. But when you tilt this debris tank all the way up in the air, the only portion of this tank that's not getting decanted is this bottom corner here. Everything else is getting decanted. But you can add that lower decant valve if you really want to get all the water out. Important thing, I mentioned how it gets clogged. You see right here, I've got a flush out connection on my knife valve. I can take my low pressure hose, connect it to that valve, and back flush the knife valve and pop open that blockage so that I can decant more without it getting clogged up. You know what? It blocks up and gets clogged up with rags again. Spray water through it again, open it up. That way I can actually get all that liquid out of the debris tank instead of it clogging up on me and then I've got a liquid mess when I go dump. I also have a big plate on the back door on the other side of this decant. That plate was put on by Heil of Texas to ensure that if someone bought this truck and they wanted to put a pump off system on, they can easily do it. They don't have to do any fabrication to the back door. That plate's on there so that you can take the plate off, install your pump off, and now if you buy a Heil demo truck, boom, you got a plate on the back door right there. You can add your pump off if you want to. It's just a nice option to have. Some other things out back, you can see you got your rear camera, you have your arrow stick up top. I've got long handle storage back here. So if I wanted to put any spoons, grabbers, shovels, anything back here that I don't want to keep in that long handle box because maybe they're nasty and I want to keep them exposed in the elements, I can put a really long grabber or a really long spoon. If you got a 15-foot spoon, slide it in here, bunge it down. You got 2, one on either side of the frame rails. They went with a cone rack off the rear bumper here. So I got a cone rack here, nice and easy to get on and off. That can be changed to any location you want. If there's any space on the truck at all for you to have a cone rack, we can add one to it. We'll even do some that mount on the deck and hinge off to the side. That way you don't have to climb up and grab the cones. They hinge off to the side, grab your cones off, nice and easy. So that's some quick highlights off the back. Let's move over to the driver's side of the truck. With this air routing, we're picking up material through that boom. That material comes through the boom, enters the front middle of the debris tank. Then there's a deflector shield that kicks all that material to the right side of the debris tank. Then that air comes through the back left. And there's a stainless steel screen in the back left of the back driver's side of the debris tank. That's where the air is exiting the debris tank. So that stainless steel screen is keeping material in the debris tank and letting air escape through. But there's probably going to be some fine particulates, some fine dust that makes it through that screen. It runs through this air routing and enters a cyclonic separator. That cyclonic separator spins that air down to the bottom and shoots it up to the top, allowing that dust to settle at the bottom. Then it curves around, enters into a final filter. So there's a pleated cartridge filter, which is the final stage of filtration, hint, final filter. So after it runs through that cartridge, it goes directly into that PD blower and gets exhausted through. That's how we're routing that air, and that's really increased the filtration. And by routing the air that way, it's increased our vacuum performance as well. So that's a few things that are different, and that's why a lot of the newer Vac-Cons you're seeing have this air routing coming around this side of the truck. Now, another important thing, you can see that cylinder up there on that air routing. That's that vacuum breaker we've been talking about. So we've talked about it twice. We had the vacuum breaker button on the front of the truck. We talked about it with the automatic overfill protection with the debris level indicator on the curbside. This vacuum breaker does three really important things. It gives the operator the on and off ability to seal that vacuum like we talked about at the front. There's automatic overfill protection, which we talked about curbside with that level indicator. And the third thing it does is when you disengage the parking brake and you start driving down the road, doesn't matter how much material you have in the tank, vacuum breaker closes, so it keeps all the material inside the debris tank and doesn't let it come through that routing. When you clean out that debris tank, when you're dumping, you clean out the main screen on the back left of the debris tank, really easy place to wash that down. And then right here we have our cyclonic separator, and it says clean out when dumping. So it's really easy to get in and out of. I got this rubber latch, I'm doing it one-handed here. I open this up, and you've got a ramped location where you can spray this out. We're not making you go through a bunch of clamps and T-handles and stuff. This is your, if you don't find anything here, there's nothing in your final filter. If you're smack full, you got a lot of stuff in this, which is rare to find, but then you might want to look into that final filter. But you're gonna find some fine dust in here just because that air's spinning down and taking the turn right here. It's a really great cyclonic separator just due to the size. Our engineers use a system called computational fluid dynamics, and they're spraying a mist through the software program, spraying a mist in the air. They're trying to come up with a cyclonic separator size that catches that finest particle. That's how they came up with the size, the diameter at the top, the diameter at the bottom, the angle of the cyclone. This isn't guesswork. This had a lot of work that went into it to find a cyclonic separator that was the most optimal for a combination sewer cleaner. Now, I mentioned before that this was a Heil of Texas demo unit. And they set this demo up to be versatile, but they also set this up to be customizable for whichever customer buys it. And by the way, it's available for immediate delivery if you're interested. This deck here, nobody in the industry runs a deck like this. We do it on purpose. We're thinking about the operators. This whole video, we've been talking operator, operator, operator. We got to think about the fleet service mechanics, anybody working on your Vac-Con as well. So you got a nice deck to where you can easily stand, sit, work up there, and have a nice support underneath you instead of just bolting things onto a floating chassis frame. That way you have a nice, great location to work from. If you wanted to add tool storage, pipe storage, they put this singular pipe rack here, water cooler rack, trash bin, tiger tail bin. You can put anything over here if you have a specialized need whatsoever. That's why they kept this nice and open. Another thing I'll point out here, that transfer case cooling fan's right here. That's what I talked about earlier. But I was gonna say, a lot of people think, well, look at all these hoses here. Other trucks have hoses too. And this is a combination sewer cleaning truck. This isn't a racing truck. This doesn't need the, we're not trying to make this look like the best, most pristine truck in the world. We want it to work great, and we want it to be the most dependable truck in your fleet. So we don't hide all of the hoses. We don't tuck all the hoses together and bundle them through the middle of the truck. We keep them exposed so that when you want to work on this truck, or if you need to work on this truck and get it up and running, it's easy to do so. You don't have to go digging in and cutting apart hoses to find the right hose. We've laid them out in a way to where it's nice and easy to work on. So that's pretty evident when you look over to the side. On the side of the final filter, you have your Kunkel valves. So those are your relief valves. We run those on a PD blower vacuum system. They're unnecessary on a fan vacuum system. PD blower vacuum system, you do oil change. A fan vacuum system, you grease. The reason I bring that up, I'm going to talk a little bit on the mechanic side of things. I'm no mechanic, by the way. I just talk about it a lot because I talk to a lot of mechanics, and that's how we came up with a lot of things on the Vac-Con product. So we have our hydraulic reservoir up top. We have a 6-bolt panel right here. All of the Vac-Con electronics are right behind the 6-bolt panel. So your PDM, power displacement module, your motherboard, your wireless remote receiver, your fuses, everything's located right here. You don't have to go searching around to find the location of all that stuff. We use a transfer case, like I mentioned. With that transfer case, we have to do oil changes on it. So you have a 100-hour break-in for your OMSI transfer case, and then you're doing oil changes on a periodic table after that. We put a remote sight glass on the driver's side of the truck, so you can see that OMSI sight glass from the side without crawling underneath the truck. Just another nice feature. It's right behind the oil filter here on the driver's side of the truck. So those little things add up because we're not trying to make a truck that's only great for operators. We want the truck to be great for the guys working on the truck as well, because they matter as well. They are ones spending hopefully not a lot of time on this truck, but when they do get the truck, we want it to get back up and running quick. So if they like working on it, it's more likely that it's going to get done quick, in my opinion. Makes it easy to work on. So now I have a question that I got to answer. Is this the best combo truck built? And I'll give you a nice short answer and then I'll elaborate on it. Yes, this is the best combo truck built. Is it this SE12 Pro? Depends on your application. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. The reason why this is the best combination truck built is I can make this a dual engine 12-yard Pro with a fan or with a PD blower, or a single engine with a fan or a PD blower. You can pick the option content that fits your needs. You can pick the size that fits your needs. We're customizing this truck to fit your application, not the other way around. We're not giving you a cookie cutter truck. That's what makes this truck the best truck built. And I'm obviously very passionate about it. And if you have any questions for me whatsoever, comment on the video. If you are trying to send me your information, if you want to see a demo or you want pricing, it's probably best to message me. That way you don't have to put your information in the comments section. But I know it's hard, you can't really message on YouTube. So if you're on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, message me on there, send me your information. That way I can line something up and show you a truck in person or send you pricing. That way you can actually get one of these trucks delivered here pretty soon. With that being said, guys, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you're interested in stuff like this, when you subscribe, it helps me out. It gives me the ability to keep doing videos like this. While you're there, there's a little bell. If you hit the bell, you'll get notified every time I post a video. So that's pretty cool. But with that being said, you should check out this video right here. Another video just like it, where you can see some other option content that are similar. Guys, thanks again for watching the video. As always, work safe and buy Vac-Con.